Alrighty boys, what's going on? My name is Garen Belmont. How y'all doing today? So in today's video, I'm going to be going over my ultimate Blair build. Now a couple of things to keep in mind with this build. This is a crit build, and we're also going to be getting 100%. We're going to be reaching 100% crit rate with this setup, as well as this build is going to be base Blair friendly. But one thing you will see is that you can actually switch out one of the Transcendant mods with not having to switch out anything else, and this build will actually still be really good, and you'll see that here here in a second. So let's kind of go over everything real quick. Now in terms of weapons, there weren't any weapons that were too particular that synergize really well with this build, like say for instance Blue Beetle with Ultimate Sharon with her area suppression build. There wasn't really anything that really tickled my fancy that would make this build like any better. Maybe there is, and I just am misremembering or what have you. So I don't know, but so honestly, run with whatever weapon you want. I'm running Truly Deadly Arson just because this weapon just looks really cool on Blair, and I believe also from a lore perspective, it is said to be Blair's favorite weapon since it was made using parts of his nemesis. So that's why I'm using this weapon, because from a lore perspective, it's cool, and it just looks really cool on him. Next up is going to be our Burning Phase Reactor. I have Beam Rifle on it, and then in terms of stats, I have Skill Crit Damage as well as Skill Duration up. And then you do want to make sure you're going with a Dimension Reactor. I'm sorry, my brain. Now I haven't invested any materials into enhancing this, just because I think I just got this like not too long ago. I was using a different one, but honestly this one is better. So if you can get yourself, like, the Prio 1 is going to be skill crit damage. Like, that is definitely Prio 1. That's going to increase your damage output. We don't need skill crit rate because we're still able to get 100% skill crit rate without it. So I would go with something like skill duration up for your second stat, skill CDR, which is skill cooldown reduction. Skill cost would be another good one. In just whichever you can get your hands on. I mean, I prefer skill duration up because of Blair's like flame zones, and it also affects how long he's using his flamethrower ability for. So just kind of keep that in mind. For our external component set, we're actually going to be using Firebrand. The reason why is based off of my testing. I did not like the way Slayer felt. I know that it's popular to go with a Slayer set because of the, what is it, excuse me, because of the 21% increased skill power, but I just did not like the way it played, and so I decided that I wanted to go with Firebrand. Of course, you're going to want to go with stats like max HP. You're also going to want things like MP recovery out of combat, MP recovery in combat, plus max MP. As you can see, I haven't gotten the good roll yet, but I'm still like working on it. With this one, MP recovery modifier and defense honestly is a pretty good one as well. I don't know if MP recovery modifier also affects the recovery of your MP when you use your second ability. I would imagine not, but I think that's only for the MP drops. And then processor, honestly, max shield is fine. These ones aren't as important, except for just going with the defensive stats, so defense and max HP. That's all you really have to worry about. These two are, you got to be a little bit more particular on. These two, not so much. So let's go over the build. So for our Transcendent mod, we're going to be using Classic Chef. Because we're using Classic Chef, this build is actually going to be base player friendly. For our Sub-Attack mod, we are going to be going with Mid-Air Maneuvering. You could use whatever you want here. If you want to use long distance maneuvering, you can use that as well. Battle of Stamina, because we do want that extra skill duration. We're going with Frontline Skill Concentration Emergency measures for skill critical hit rate as well as skill critical damage. Skill critical hit rate comes from these two, and then skill crit damage also comes from the all three of these. So but we do want to prioritize skill crit damage because that's going to be our kind of like our main damage source. Focus on fire and then focus on dimension. These are pretty typical. This is a pretty standard crit build, so you played one crit build, you played them all. Focus on fire, focus on dimension. All of Blair's skills except for his second skill, extinguish, are dimensions, so we do want to, you know, boost the power. We do want to boost the power of those. Multi-talented because when using dimension active skill, we get the increased skill cooldown. This is going to be pretty important for the rotation. Skill expansion, this increases the radius of the flame zones as well as the range of burn taste, as well as the range of the explosion, as well as the fire zones that we're going to be getting from Deadly Cuisine. And then nimble fingers and MP conversion for skill cooldown. Let's kind of talk, let's go a little bit more in depth with this build so you guys understand how this build works. So the reason why this is a crit build is because of Blair's passive, Pitmaster. Basically what this does is, based off of how many flame zones you have active on the field, it will increase your skill critical hit rate. And then when we use Deadly Cuisine, this will spawn an immediate 5 flame zones. So we're increasing the radius of those, but we're also spawning the 5 flame zones. And then with that, we're also going to be spawning 2 additional flame zones with our first ability, and this will give us 100% crit rate. So I'll just show this to you right here. I'm just gonna respawn the Vulgus here. Whoopsie. All right. So your rotation is going to be 4, 1, 1, and then 3, and then you're probably going to be out of MP, so you're going to be pressing your second ability. So. Alrighty, and if we look at here, we are getting maximum skill critical hit rate. And then we can press our third ability here. Now, skill duration is pretty important with this build because you want to make sure that your flame zones are active for as long as possible. That way, it gives you enough time to restore your MP, as well as it's doing additional damage. And then also you can see that we have our burn taste up a lot longer, which is pretty important.
Enjoy your meal. I'll torch it all.
Now let's say you're a base Blair player and you're like, okay, Garen, that's fine and all. You know, Classic Chef looks fun, but I also want to play Next Level Recipe, which is the Transcendent mod that makes it when Blair is walking, he will spawn a flame zone under him. Well, don't worry, little Billy, I got you. Okay, I freaking got you. Okay. I'm sorry, I forgot to also show RK tuning. Now, I did test RK tuning with both the skill power nodes as well as going for the crit damage nodes. I found during my testing, I found that they both had roughly around the same amount of damage. I think I tested it by increasing the skill critical hit rate to 100%, and then I ended up hitting an enemy with burn taste. Probably not the best way to test it, but that's just, I don't know, hitting burn taste was probably like the most direct ability I could use to really get like good testing out of it. And they both hit around the same. I would say it was like 3.6 to 4.5 million. They both were hitting that. So I would personally prefer you guys go with the crit damage build. Only reason why is because we're going with the crit damage build, we're not spending that extra 5 points on skill power, which kind of allows you to use whatever you want here. I end up opting for going with these mods right here to get the additional skill cooldown. Now, one thing to understand with crit, is that your damage output is based off an equation of, I believe it's skill power times your crit multiplier. I don't know if it's where's yeah, so right here it says the final skill attack is the skill critical hit damage, so this number right here multiplied by your total skill power. And then anyone who knows anything about equations, when you're multiplying, it doesn't matter where the numbers are, because you still end up with the same you end up with the same outcome, the same number. So building for skill power and building for skill crit damage will both affect your final skill attack. So just kind of keep that in mind for the future. And then for inversion reinforcements, we're running Adrenaline Rush. I like running Neural Focus Augmentation to increase our max MP. And then I also have Selective Neural Stimulation. So, like I was saying before, let's say you know you're a base Blair player right now. You're still working on getting Ultimate Blair, but when you do get Ultimate Blair, you want to upgrade to using a different mod, a different Transcendent mod. Well, guess what? Boom, easy. You just switch out Classic Chef for Next Level Recipe, and it honestly works pretty well here. It actually works relatively well here. I'll show it off right now. With Next Level Recipe, I'm not really going to be focusing on Deadly Cuisine because Next Level Recipe doesn't change Deadly Cuisine. At least I'm pretty sure it doesn't. Let me make sure. I might be stupid. No, okay. I'm not stupid. Because it doesn't change Deadly Cuisine, the only time you're going to be using it is for bosses for single target damage. You're pretty much when you're mobbing enemies, when you're doing mobbing, you're just going to boom.
Prepping time. Flame on.
And then all you got to do is just make sure your your first ability is active. Now, I will say I did try using this build with Narcissism, which gives you a reduction in your skill cooldown and skill cost as you're running. The problem with that, I'll actually show it off here. No, whoops, didn't do that. The problem here is that if we switch out multi-talented with Narcissism here, the problem, okay,
Watch the floor.
is that when we recast our first ability, you can see the stacks of Narcissism on the side, 9, 10. It actually resets our Narcissism stacks, which is very problematic, having to kind of losing your stacks constantly. So I didn't really think it was worth it. I still think using multi-talented is the way to go. So that's why I'm not running Narcissism. So there's the build. There's the build, guys. I will show off some gameplay of me doing, I think I did Sigma Sector in the gameplay footage. That way you can just kind of see the build in action in a solo scenario where you guys can see enemies that are actually trying to kill me. So, yeah, keep in mind also the gameplay footage you guys are going to see is recorded. I actually hurt my arm when I was at work, so my aim and just kind of like me doing stuff isn't the best right now. So I do apologize if the gameplay looks a little lackluster. But with that being said, guys, I will see you in my next video. After the gameplay, of course. Bye-bye.
This is Hound Actual, reporting extreme concentrations of void energy within the operation zone. All units, please proceed at your own discretion, but do not exceed your limits.
It's cooking time. How was that? I like it. Well done. Good. How was that? Prepping time.
We've detected signs of life inside a nearby RK receptor.
Ah! Watch the floor. Right. Bon appetit. Perfectly done. I love it. It's cooking time. Good. Right. Take it. I love it. Watch the looks like we're done. Yeah! Knock yourself down! How was that? I like them well done! Shields are dead. Perfectly done! Done. That's a nice burn!